Welcome to March Malcontent, Episode 8. Our first match is going to be Lucario against Terry. Now, I get the feeling we've seen these characters fight together before, because all my commentary ideas feel like they've been repeated. Mostly that these are two characters who very much have high swing potential when they're at a high percent. So Lucario gets more aura the more damaged he is, with also a couple extra special rules if he's like behind on stocks and whatnot. Terry, once he hits 100%, he straight up gets Go Meter. The Terry amiibo does seem to have a problem living too long past that 100% threshold. He is actually hampered a little bit just because the auto heal. Oh wow, that was a pretty really quick kill. The auto heal does keep putting him right below the 100% threshold. So usually when a human player hits 100%, they're at that level, and then they get two additional moves you have to watch out for, otherwise they will kill you. So the opponent starts playing a lot more safely. If that happens with the amiibo, then what happens is they'll play safely, and then Terry will auto-heal below that 100% threshold. Then he no longer has access to arguably his two strongest moves. The super special moves also can be cancelled out of normal attacks. So just because some of them can take a little bit to come out, doesn't mean you're safe. He can and probably will cancel, for example, Buster Wolf out of Jab. Alright, Lucario's got Terry off stage. Doesn't particularly capitalize on it. The Terry amiibo does have a little bit of a harder time recovering. Well, especially when it goes that far off stage with Power Dunk. The Terry amiibo doesn't seem to like to use a special move to get closer to the stage. In Smash Ultimate, compared to previous Smash games, a lot more attacks that would put you into special fall simply don't. It's actually great from a casual perspective, simply because you get multiple options to recover to the stage, and characters usually get balanced around the fact knowing that some of them will have more options available to them than others. It also does enable certain characters with a very low airspeed to still recover, even if sometimes it's just barely because they need to use every special move they have. Alright, they're both at a pretty high percentage. With Lucario's aura, I would bet that the first strong hit that lands will kill someone. Back throw is not a killing move, at least on Terry, at that percent. Most moves will kill at some percent, but usually it's an outrageously high one. Now, Terry was at 105%, auto-heal to 100, but he didn't make it back to the ledge, so he still hasn't got to use that super special move. And now you have to watch out, because Lucario has his aura built up, so his attacks will be doing more damage, more knockback, especially some of the special moves. For example, the Aura Sphere, you can charge it up bigger and stronger. It is a little weird what the conversion rate is if you charge up a fully charged Aura Sphere when you're at low aura, and then you gain more aura. There seems to be a conversion factor. I have no idea what it is. Power Dunk, not connecting. Lucario's at either too high a percent, or maybe Terry messed the input. Now, at Lucario's insane aura, he was able to KO Terry, which is great for Lucario. Kind of the king of comebacks, at least before all of the Smash Ultimate DLC came out. Playing around at the ledge, that move isn't going to kill Lucario. Things are just getting worse and worse for Terry. That smash attack did not connect. It probably wouldn't have killed Terry at that percent, but it would have sent him off stage, and then Lucario gets edge guard. Terry charges, he canceled his up B instead of the Power Dunk. Power Dunk can kill, especially if you use the command input. That time he got the command input, but Lucario fell out again. He seems to be at too high a percent. Lucario isn't even a particularly heavy character. Late hit of Power Dunk does kill him. That does drastically change this battle. You can see already, I don't think Lucario landed a forward air before. I mean, that was a back air, actually. He didn't land a back air before. However, if you compared the two, a high aura back air definitely is more punishing than a low aura, especially because the move has pretty high knockback anyway. Any additional knockback really starts to be punishing, especially because in Smash Ultimate, knockback doesn't exactly scale linearly. It's a little hard to... Is Terry Ganesti? He makes it. So if a move has double the knockback, your instinct would be that it would send you twice as far. Offstage Aura Sphere is going to kill Terry. We're going to have to shelve that discussion I was having for another time. Lucario stays in it. And here we've got Kazuya against Lucas. Quick reminder, again, for anyone who, for some reason, started this episode. Not that, you know, we wouldn't like you here. Congratulations, you found March Malcontent. It's the preseason for April Anger. Currently, any of the amiibos in this video that will win their match will still be in the running for a spot in the tournament. Any of them that lose will have lost that privilege. Onto the match. Kazuya has dealt a pretty quick 70% to Lucas. Kazuya is essentially a heavyweight, but without a lot of the downsides a heavyweight character has. He has some strong hitting attacks. He even has some combos, a couple more than he honestly should, seeing as that he has a 0 to death. You probably... There's a really low chance you'll see the amiibo pull that off. But the human players, they definitely know... Well, they just have the execution and they know how to land the moves to make one hit be the last hit of your stock. Not that the one move hits, but they can chain moves into each other. And if you play Kazuya right, you can actually do it at a variety of percents. Usually when a character has a 0 to death, it requires the opponent to start at 0% and perhaps make a terrible decision at some point. But Kazuya just has so many moves that, since he has, I think, more than double the average character, he has more options to go for. And of course, people found whatever the strongest or best moves were and just used those exclusively. It's a little sad because Tekken is a game where every character has about 100 or 200 moves, depending, you know, on the character. They have a lot of moves in that game. And if you play any given character, you're kind of expected to know, not necessarily all of them, because there's just so many, but you probably know a lot of them. So when you get a game like Smash Brothers that does not have, for example, a 3D plane of effect, it becomes a lot easier to, say, have 38 normal moves and only use 9 of them. Late hit of PK Thunder, it's not going to kill Kazuya, at least at that angle and percent. I know that he said that he wasn't as heavy as a lot of heavyweights, but he actually is pretty heavy. I don't have the list in front of me right now, but he's heavier than most characters. I know that at least. And then, based off of how effective he is, you really wouldn't guess he's a heavyweight, since those are notoriously bad, even though they are better in Smash Ultimate than most previous games. Kazuya keeps hitting those duck punches. I don't know what the actual name of them is, but you crouch, and when you uncrouch, you get to hit the opponent, and it stuns them. So that's why Lucas hasn't been acting out of that. It's not that the amiibo has been weirdly slow, it's that Lucas literally could not act out of most of those. It's especially weird because Kazuya, specifically as a character, has most of his hit stun turned off. In fact, it might be all of it. I can't think of a move that has any. Specifically because that's kind of how Tekken does things. Great back air from Lucas. That's really going to keep him in this game if he can avoid a couple of kill blows from Kazuya. Something to watch out for about Kazuya is that he does have a weaker version of Bowser's tough guy armor. It means that sometimes he can just armor through a hit. He does have less, but any armor on any character is appreciated. And if okay, that move just killed Lucas.
Kazuya Mishima wins.
Our next match is going to be Snake against R.O.B, Japanese R.O.B with the American skin coloration. We go over this a lot, but the American and Japanese versions of the R.O.B, I guess I'd call them a toy. It's supposed to go with the NES and specific games, even if it's only 2 of them. It was kind of as a ploy to make the console seem less like a video game console, because there was a real stigma about that at the time. Great grab from R.O.B. That rocket launcher probably would have killed him. I guess, in retrospect, most rocket launchers kill people in real life. But at the percent he was at, especially at that side of the screen, he could not have afforded to take that hit. Snake goes weirdly high, gets a good parry. That up tilt didn't kill R.O.B. That is something to know about this stage, the name of which escapes me for some reason at the moment. Pictochat, there we go. It has a very high upper blast zone. Part of that is because when you're on the hazards on version, above that central platform, there will actually be different sketches and doodles that you get to fight around on, which means that the highest platform of those is definitely much higher up on the screen. R.O.B. just upbeat into that. Snake gets another kill. This Snake is just dominating. Spot dodging the rocket launcher. Pretty risky gambit, but I guess it worked. And then he just neutral aired into that one. R.O.B. has quite a big hill to make up. The lower blast zone is a little bit lower, and R.O.B. does have a spike. He can, okay, if he's just going to stand there and take a rocket launcher to the face, he's going to have problems. R.O.B. doesn't seem to know you can hit Nake's Nikita to negate the hitbox and Snake's control of it for just a second. Kind of a measure that to make so that Snake wouldn't be absolutely overpowered edge camping, and Snake just got that victory. That was a very fast match. R.O.B.'s Japanese is not going to be making it into the tournament. Here we've got Sephiroth against Banjo. Banjo and Kazuya. It's always a little weird what the specific terminology for the character is because there's two of them. They both definitely do provide a significant just amount to the battle. It's kind of one of the defining features of the original game that you have two characters in one and you can use their different abilities to accomplish different things. In the second Banjo-Tooie actually, there's even a feature that lets you split the characters up to do things on their own. And it does highlight that they are usually more effective as a pair, even if Kazuya seems to favor just a little bit more. Is Banjo? Alright, Banjo ran into that right up the stairs. Anyways, in Banjo-Tooie, Kazuya usually gets a little bit of the extra flashier and better moves, better mobility, because effectively the game is you are a bear who has a bird sidekick who does all the cool things for you. It's especially weird because in Smash Brothers it's a little bit the opposite. Kazuya is there and is useful, but it turns out that somebody being a bear is a lot more useful in a fight. Which I suppose is how it would work in real life too. Bears are insane animals, and Kazuya is actually a breagle. It's a type of bird, but I know that in real life I have a chance of defeating a breagle in combat. I really don't have a chance of taking on a bear. At least without any sort of outside advantage, like, I don't know, having a gun or... Yeah, no, I would need some sort of firepower to defeat a bear. Maybe a really good spear and a lucky blow. So, something about Sephiroth, since I should probably talk about him for a little bit. He seems to have a really good anti-amiibo matchup. Mostly because of how large the range is on a lot of his moves. It seems to, I want to say, mess with their AI, or at least make the amiibo rethink all of its decisions because they're always in his range of attack. It's weird too because it's not like other characters there aren't too many characters, but a lot of characters do not have that similar range. But for some reason Sephiroth really seems to trip up the amiibo. Min Min has even more range, but the AI seems to know how to deal with it. I think part of it is due to his up air and his up smash covering effectively a giant bubble around his person. That back throw killed. I guess Banjo did have enough rage. After that early first stock, he has held in pretty well for the second stock. He grabbed the grenade, did grab it with an up air that gives you just a little bit more lag than if you can Z-catch it. Oh, they switched places there. I thought that Banjo was the one getting... Anyways, I have mixed them up. But Banjo's still surviving. Sephiroth is no longer landing any of his kill moves. The uneven terrain is a little bit to his disadvantage here. For example, on the giant staircase, having a longsword that hits sideways is not nearly as beneficial. Meanwhile, Banjo's Wonderwing will actually travel along the ground, because Banjo travels along the ground, which means he can use it going up or down the staircase. Great grenade. I can't believe Sephiroth actually landed into that. One thing you do have to watch out when you're going against the amiibo, though, is that sometimes they will catch items you would expect a human would not. Now, I'm sure that there are some humans that catch items a lot more than others. I know that I've personally met a few. But the amiibo, maybe it's because they spam moves, or maybe it's because they know that they can catch it. But they can catch items, they can footstool a lot better than most people can. Sephiroth did not get the roll read there. A little surprising, since his sword was long enough, he probably could have just used a forward tilt and hit Banjo regardless. Banjo just rolled into that flare. If Banjo wants to stay in this, he has to play carefully and ration out his 5 Wonder Rings well. Sephiroth got the timing, however, Banjo teched, which meant that his attack did not land. That is a little bit of a mind game you can use whenever you need to tech. Usually teching is better than not teching, I will say that. However, if you tech, you're invincible for just a little bit while you tech off the surface. And if you don't tech, you can then do a get-up. Even if it's neutral get-up, that does give you slight invincibility, and the timing on that can mess up your opponent. Banjo, for some reason, did not get hit by that down smash. He must have had invincibility or something, but he was getting up from the ledge, so it's a little bit hard to tell. He's got Sephiroth off stage. Now he's got a ledge trap. And he just put Sephiroth right back on stage. Not great for Banjo. He does know to get rid of the grenade in time, though, so that's good. Is he gonna... Okay, Banjo learned from his lesson and did not run up the staircase into his death. It may not be enough, though. He does have Sephiroth at a high percent. Sephiroth already got his wing, which gives him an extra jump, along with a couple other perks making him more powerful. Gives him a little bit of armor on some of his smash attacks, even. Sephiroth's holding the grenade, it bounces him back towards the stage. Probably could have been an early kill if it bounced him the other way. Sephiroth canceling all these flares. In the air, that's a little bit of a risky proposition. Especially because in order to cancel the move, there are only so many options you can take. Usually with charging moves, you can shield to cancel them, and Sephiroth gets a savage skewer right up Banjo's throat. Here we've got Greninja against Meta Knight. I'll tell you what, something I just noticed, taking the amiibo on and off of the shelf, I put all of the amiibo who are more difficult to grab on the top of the shelf because it made them easier and more accessible to grab off the shelf. But I realized that all of the amiibo near the top usually have some sort of large protrusion or spiky thing or something that usually snags on the other amiibo when I try to grab them. The end result is that the top shelf kind of became the edgelord shelf, because that's where you get all the amiibo with large pointy wings, spikes, stuff like that. Meta Knight is actually on the shelf too, because his amiibo takes up so much physical space. And he's actually one of the least edgy on the edgelord shelf, surprisingly. Even though he is definitely the edgiest character in the Kirby games. So we've got Greninja and Meta Knight, who are on Luigi's Mansion. I will say that in the transition to Smash 4, Greninja probably got a little bit better of a deal than Meta Knight did. Meta Knight has had some struggles, even though for some reason a lot of people seem to be taking him up lately and seeing what he can do. He does especially have a particularly nasty combo against R.O.B, who is a character a lot of people are concerned about currently. Even if that doesn't translate exactly to the amiibo game. I will say that a character who has 5 jumps and a sword sounds like on paper they should be an absolute monster to fight against. you can't even balance out Meta Knight by making all of his attacks slow, because part of his character is that he is a good sword fighter and all of his sword attacks are fast. So they actually went with the opposite approach in that his attacks are a little too fast, in that they all come out and are active for a frame or 3, and then they're gone again. So you can't, for example, usually catch someone who's falling out of the air super easily. You do have to time it, and it still is entirely possible, especially since Meta Knight's up smash consists of 3 hits, probably intentionally to make it easier to catch people. Improv combo from Greninja, you can't usually land that exact sequence he went for. He did go for a down throw and a forward smash. That wasn't a combo, but against humans, I've found that a lot of people will either not tech it or they will tech it wrong. Because when you're at a low enough percent, Greninja's down throw will actually often put you on your feet, which means you can't tech it. You just land. You can shield his smash attack, of course, but if you went for a tech input and not a shield input, even though it's the same button, you will either drop your shield early, or a variety of different things, like you could buffer a direction and accidentally get out a roll you didn't mean. And Greninja being a very fast character on the ground, he has a really good chance of being able to catch up to that sort of thing. Playing dangerously low off stage, Greninja does have a good offstage presence. Essentially, as long as you have your jump, he can make it back to the ledge. At least, you know, on standard stages. Meta Knight has an even better offstage presence because he has 5 jumps. And he does have, you know, moves that can throw you farther off the stage. And every single one of his special moves is, well, can double as a recovery move. It was one of his most unique aspects when Brawl first came out. These days, you probably aren't going to see too many people use Mach Tornado to recover, but it can be used as such. Meta Knight's just using so many of these up airs keeps bringing Greninja to the top floor of the mansion. This is the hazardless version, so the mansion is never going to be broken. It also means the columns don't have a hitbox, so there's going to be no hit stun shenanigans. Playing off stage again, Greninja does make that, but if Meta Knight could have thrown out another aerial, it would have spelled his end. Greninja does have multiple options to make it back to the stage, but if he's using his side B to recover, wow, Meta Knight is having a field day with Greninja, playing pinball with him, effectively. Meta Knight knowing to not get hit by that up smash, it is probably Greninja's most consistent kill move. Meta Knight slipped just around the platform, otherwise he would have bounced around and probably saved his life. Greninja was walking there. In general, if you are a human, you don't want to be walking because it just takes you longer to get places. If you're training an amiibo to go after other amiibo, you actually do want them to walk because it leaves them more actionable. When you're walking, you can shield instantly. There is a tech use, so you can actually shield immediately while running, even if it does come at the expense of having to always hold your shield forwards, which can have problems in and of itself, but usually not too many. One thing that walking allows that can't be compensated for is that you can use any attack at any time. It is less of an issue in Smash Ultimate because once you stop holding the control stick, you can now input an attack, but that is just a little bit of time where you cannot use certain moves. Like, you cannot run up and down tilt as quick as you can if you were walking. And that's actually really important for the amiibo because they can't use a lot of the techs that you'll see tournament players use to keep their player just more actionable at all times. And they don't need to run up against AI opponents because the amiibos don't really have to worry about reaction time. Meta Knight makes this back, by the way. Almost even killed Greninja in retaliation. And Meta Knight doesn't go for the up throw there, even though that's the time it probably could have killed. Oh, he does get the edge guard, though. So amiibos don't have to worry about reaction time. So you want them to be walking so they have every action available to them. Whereas if they were going against... Okay, Meta Knight. If they're going against a human opponent, I could be debated which one you want to go for. Meta Knight does not smack into the mansion. Yet again, it's going to cost him another stock and any potential he had of making it to the tournament. Alright, for this match we have Corrin against Sora. Corrin's definitely been around for a while. This is Corrin the first, not Corrin the second. Something to know. Some of you may not know that we do have two Korras because they released two physical Corrin amiibos. They do have a different physical model. In-game I made sure that they have different colorations, so that shouldn't be a problem. When I only had the one Corrin amiibo, I gave her the pink coloration. In general, most people seem to gravitate towards the female skin. It just feels more unique, especially in a roster that is primarily male-dominated, like Smash Brothers. And also, I will say that for some reason, the male design of Corrin, since Corrin's from a Fire Emblem game where you can pick your protagonist, you can be a boy or a girl if you want, and they actually included both of them in Smash Brothers. And me, and for some reason a lot of people, the male Corrin just feels more plain. Maybe it's after dealing with so many generic anime protagonists, but male Corrin just doesn't feel like anything new. Which is especially strange because Corrin is a character who turns random, well, semi-random limbs into dragons whenever it benefits him. If you want to see something disturbing, whenever Corrin uses any of her stabbing skewer attacks, you would think she would use her entire arm to skewer, but she instead just grows her fingers incredibly huge. I will say I don't know the entire lore of how transforming into a dragon gives you the stretchy powers that Corrin has. Corrin is, of course, a main character, so the rules kind of get bent for those kind of characters, since they are basically the entire game revolves around them. It would be, I guess, pretty depressing to play a game where your character is the least special. Oh, that's a taunt from Corrin. Corrin being one of the oldest amiibo from the series, you are going to still see that from time to time. It is even a symptom that sometimes you'll see on the really old retrained amiibos. It's very hard to train out of amiibo who have the symptom in it, and that's another taunt. This has been a lot of taunts from Corrin, actually. And yet another. Especially when the amiibos seem to taunt, they often will do it in a place that leaves them open. Since taunts can be cancelled, you would think that they wouldn't be left exposed, but the amiibo seem to commit to the taunt. And while yes, it can be funny, in a tournament setting it will get you punished. And if they're not doing it when they can be punished, they'll usually do it as a combo finisher, which you'll probably notice is an incredibly terrible way to end a combo. Because it leaves you exposed, or at least it means you're not following up with anything. Sora played a risky game with that skewer there. The longer you hold your shield, the more likely you get shield poked and you get hit by the move anyway. And even if you don't get shield poked, you do lose a lot of your shield doing that. Seeing as that the universal jump squat frames in Smash Ultimate is 3 to kind of standardize everyone so that everyone can jump at the same speed. Except for Kazuya, because he needs it in order to perform certain special input moves. With any degree of consistency, really. So aside from him, everyone else can jump in 3 frames, so it means you can get out of your shield pretty quickly. Going off stage, Sora gets a stray hit on Corrin, and that's just enough that she can't make it back. She probably should have tried to recover into the path of Sora's recovery. Sora is a very floaty character, so he gets to spend a lot of time in the air, but no matter which way he recovers, he does need to throw out a hitbox. And Corrin throws out another taunt. Joy. Now, Corrin gets a combo on Sora. It sends him off stage, though, and Corrin just has a lot less of an off-stage presence, so it's going to be really hard to punish that sort of thing. gets a forward smash on the down air. It's just too safe of a move to be able to be punished. Sora is one of the DLC characters from Smash Ultimate, so that does normally mean that they're a little bit higher performing. Mostly because there are some people out there who, for some reason, won't buy a character unless they're high tier. It's a shame, really. I would think that the joy of playing the character would be enough of a reason to buy them. But some people put winning over everything else, and so will not. And that combo kills. And here we have Wario against Zero Suit Samus. Alphabetically, these are some of the last characters on the list. Looks like we're going to be on the Great Plateau. Probably I was going to say a problem for Wario because he has a lot of combos, but I'm actually pretty sure that Zero Suit Samus' flip kick is going to have a problem with all the pylon in the middle. Okay, well I guess she can use it there, and it won't be as much of a problem. The move is multifaceted in that it's great for avoiding damage, but also if you can land it right, you can bury your opponent into the ground. For some reason, whenever I use Zero Suit Samus, I can never get any of the berries to land. Whenever other people use Zero Suit Samus against me, I get buried and up B comboed a lot. There must be something I'm missing about the move. I know that you can throw out your kick early to activate a spike hitbox at the expense of your grounding hitbox. It's a little tough to know when to do that, especially because the grounding hitbox usually auto confirms and activates for you. Zero Suit Samus goes just a little bit too low. She does make it back, and she just runs right into that motorcycle. When you're Wario... Oh, wow, good forward smash. When you're Wario, it's always at a risk to use your bike. It's a great move just overall, but it's also a great recovery method. So if you're off stage, you can throw out your bike and you can jump off of it, and with Wario's, at least it feels good, airspeed and great aerial acceleration, he just makes it back to the stage really well. So you can use the bicycle on stage, and it can be good for a lot of things there too, and you can even jump off of it on stage to use it as a good projectile. But you do it at the expense that a particularly nasty edge guard may leave you high and dry. Still though, a great move, even though you'd think that pulling out a motorcycle would be way too slow for a game like this. And they're just sort of dancing around each other. They do finally grab a hit. The one time Zero Suit Samus did not do the backwards recovery. It's especially one of... Alright, great text from Zero Suit Samus, I will say. She took all those like a champ, took a lot of damage for it, especially because Wario's up air is probably his best aerial. You know, I'm sure in certain matchups some are more valuable than the others, but the up air just does so much damage. Does about twice the amount of damage of an up tilt, and the up tilt combos into the up air. So even if you only land one up tilt, you can at least get an up air off of it, and the up air does about 10%. So if you get hit by 10 of those, you're at 100%. And for a lot of characters, that's kill percent. Oh, and if you're at a high enough percent, the up air will even kill you. And if you're at a low enough percent and you get a really low up air, you can combo it into a couple other things. Sometimes even waft. Okay, an ill-advised combo from Wario there. He went up tilt into up B. That's really hard to get to confirm. I'm sure there's a percentage for every character where you can, but I just wouldn't recommend it. Wario barely grabbed the ledge there. If Zero Suit Samus had held her ground, she could have gotten an easy smash attack on him, because he left himself so exposed. Really weird usage from Wario there. He used his bike on stage, but he lost all of his speed, kind of leaving him a sitting duck. You can do a wheelie maneuver when you're on the bike to get a couple extra hitboxes to come out, and the one when you land is actually pretty good, even if most people seem to catch on and make sure to not get hit by it. Zero Suit Samus did not get that tech, and she just gets thrown off the Great Plateau. That's going to be ending her career this year. And for the last match of this video, we have Toon Link against Simon. Something I've noticed about... Oh, looks like we're on the Great Plateau again. Something that can be difficult for Simon to deal with is, believe it or not, actually getting camped out by your opponent. Simon does have long-reaching moves and a bunch of projectiles, so he can definitely try to out-camp the opponent. However, a lot of his projectiles are just a little bit slow, meaning that if your opponent has any quicker projectile, they can try to camp you out, and it can be a little bit hard to break that sort of situation. Toon Link is probably the least campy of all the Links. His bow is definitely the slowest, probably the hardest to use as well. His boomerang mostly seems fine, and his bombs take longer to explode than young Link's, which mostly enables Toon Link to be a little bit more scrappy and depend less on camping and spacing out the opponent. Oh, he's got Toon Link off stage. That was actually a great move from Simon there. A lot of people try to go high against him to avoid getting ledge trapped, but he has a long whip, so he can edge guard you while he's still essentially on stage. The terrible angle, that's going to kill Simon. His recovery is manageable, but really just that. It's not amazing, and when you're sent that low, he has no way of getting back. Usually if Simon's sent high, he needs to use his air dodge to recover, and then he needs to grab the ledge with his forward air. It gives him more horizontal distance than trying to use his up special. And if your opponent hits you while you're trying to use your forward air, because it doesn't make you invincible or anything, it's just a tether recovery, that'll really end your day quickly. Meanwhile, Toon Link actually has a rare, they call it a Z-air. If you hold Z when you're in midair, certain characters, usually those with tether recoveries, have an extra move where they'll throw out their tether of some sort. And most of those moves can grab the ledge. Toon Link's definitely can. So it's nice that he has the option to grab the ledge with the tether or recover with the spin attack. Another perk of Toon Link is that sometimes you'll be off stage and you can pull out a bomb and it will detonate yourself, restoring, well, making you flinch, taking you out of special fall, which will let you use another recovery move. It does take a little bit of setup, again, because his bombs take longer to explode, but that does mean you'll get it more often because it's more likely you will be hit while you are already holding a bomb, because you don't need to ditch them so incredibly quickly. Oh, great forward smash from Toon Link. He was able to beat out Simon there. Toon Link gets the bad angle, but he's able to recover with just his special recovery move. Dash attack from Simon gets Toon Link off stage. Simon decides to try edge guarding. Not a great plan usually, especially going so down low. Especially because Simon has a really amazing ledge trapping. The amiibo seems to do it less than most people do. Simon arguably has some of the best ledge trapping in the game, so he's usually doing that instead of edge guarding, especially because his edge guarding is a little weaker than average. So it's not much of a debate to go for one of the strongest in the game versus a below average option. That being said, because it's such a neglected option, whenever it does work, it usually gets people by surprise. Toon Link survived that forward air. He's at such a high percent right now. And he survived that forward tilt as well. Simon is just having a hard time killing the guy. Simon's not going to make that. Toon Link saves him. Simon was not going to recover. Since Toon Link was at such a high percent, it would have been more optimal for him to just not recover and then try to take the first stock when both of them had their percentage refreshed. He's at least doing pretty well this stock, but he has to do really well for 2 stocks, not just one. And with the pylon in the middle, it does make it a little bit harder to try to jump over all of Simon's projectiles. Jumping over his projectiles is not a free pass because he does have throwing axes that go at a large curve that have killed many people. And if you try to shield too many of them, your shield will break. It's one of the few projectiles that did not get a shield damage penalty when those were adjusted in early Smash Ultimate, since projectiles were just a little bit better than expected. Most likely because online it was a little bit harder to parry aerials. Parrying an aerial does not give you shield damage. Good kill from Toon. But online, with just a little bit of lag, the timing can be inconsistent and just overall difficult to hit. Toon down airs twice in a row. One of the perks of Simon's forward tilt is that any sort of landing hitbox like that, a lot of characters would have a hard time punishing, because they would either get hit by the sword, or Toon Link's down air specifically has a little bit of a win box to push people away who are just a little bit too close. So if he barely misses you and you try to grab, you will probably miss because it will scoot you just a little bit out of the way. Didn't seem to affect Simon much there, but I assure you, the little bit of a push does exist. But yes, one of the perks of Simon is that since his hitboxes are so long, when someone does that, trying to get away scot-free, you can just hit them with a forward tilt, and it's definitely long enough that you won't be in danger. Forward throw, barely not killing Toon Link. Toon Link makes that back. Is put immediately off stage, does avoid Simon's punish again. Puts himself right off stage again. Dancing around the ledge, Toon Link probably should retreat to safer ground. At such a high percent... Oh, there we go, we got the win box I was talking about earlier. And a probably max length hook shot. Simon does have kill moves, I assure you, he just hasn't been landing most of them. Toon Link finally starting to make up some ground. The pylon does save his life. He's able to bounce around a couple of times, but then still tech anyway. He gets Simon off stage, gets the edge guard. Simon's not going to be able to make that back. Toon Link pulls the win out of thin air, basically. That is the last match of this video. Make sure to watch all the other videos if you want to know what I'm talking about. This is a yearly tournament series that we do with all of the amiibo that, well, you've been seeing these past videos. Other than that, enjoy life and do good things.